Conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. Streaming now.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Game On. I am Meha Bhardwaj-Alter. It's a new start to the World Test Championship cycle and it's a fresh beginning for the Indian team. That is right. As they square off against West Indies in the first test at the Windsor PArk in Dominica in a short while, just an hour and a half from now. The Indian team may have lost the World Test Championship final against England last month, but this is a tour where they start favourites against a West Indies team that is still recovering from the blow that they have gotten after not having qualified for the World Cup in India later this year. But West Indies have not been bad at home in this format and they have a good bowling attack, so India would know better than to take them lightly. Jamie Alter is here with us. He believes it could be a draw if India have one or two bad days in the series. Talk about an unpopular opinion. Chetan Narula is also with us on the show, who thinks it's going to be a straightforward 2-0 win for India. Gentlemen, results are tilted in India's favour, but this series is about so much more. Jaiswal opening, Shubman Gill at 3, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. Will they score runs? Will India's inexperienced pace attack come good? So a lot to look forward to. Jamie and Chetan, let me start with Jamie.
Absolutely a lot to look forward to. We've discussed the fact that it's not just a new WTC cycle starting, but there are a couple new faces, of which one has been confirmed to make his debut. I just hope that all the uncapped players in these two test matches at least are considered strongly for a look-in. Jaiswal will play as opener. Gill will move down. So there's a lot riding on it. And like all three of us have discussed here and on other platforms, the test team has so many obvious problems that keeping in mind Rohit Sharma's statement after the loss at the Oval a few weeks ago, that he fully intends to be there as captain at Lord's 2 years from now in the summer of 2025. If indeed he and the team and all those involved with this team, and the BCI included, expect that to happen, then there's a massive improvement that's required from every single player. So, like I said before, Maya, previous tours to the West Indies often come after trips to England or thereabouts, and they're usually brushed aside as being, oh, it's the West Indies, hum to jeet jayenge. Not this time. I actually genuinely believe it could be 1-1 because India's batting is fairly crocked. Let's admit it, and. Yeah, and then there's the whole issue of a transition or a reset, whatever you want to call it.
Well, what we've seen, Chetan, is 1 month long break for Indian men's cricket. I mean, you know, something we don't see very often. So in that sense, I think exciting for all of us as well. Yes, we've been watching the Ashes and it's been thrilling. All three test matches have gone right down to the wire, and thank God for that, because if Ashes hadn't been on, I wonder what you and I would have been doing since we want at least one match a day on the telly or on our laptops in the evening.
Absolutely, Meha. Thanks for having me again. Yes, a 1 month break is a bit of a novelty in Indian cricket. Good break because kind of a reset was hit in terms of the BCCI realizing that they needed a chief of selector in place. Obviously, a couple of tough calls were made. Bit of rest for the players. I think that's also very, very important because let's not forget that most of these players are playing all three formats, and we have a major tournament this year. Yes, we did not win the World Test Championship finals, but we do have an ODI World Cup. We have the Asia Cup coming, so we need all of these players, rested and a bit fit. I think it probably helped them rest themselves mentally, physically. So, welcome break. Thanks for the Ashes. Yes, we're thankful for the Ashes because it kept us busy. Otherwise, we do need to keep on tracking cricket every day. But I think the attention of every Indian cricket supporter has probably shifted to the West Indies for the last week or so. Now, especially because Shubman Gill, as we had discussed yesterday, is batting at number 3. Yashasvi Jaiswal to open the innings. I, for one, I'm hoping India wins the toss and bats first, so we can get to see these youngsters up in action first up.
Okay, so as Chetan was saying, Rohit Sharma on the eve of the first test did reveal the team combination, something that he doesn't do very often. I haven't seen that happen very often. But yesterday he made it clear that Yashasvi Jaiswal will make his debut in the first test as an opener. And he welcomed the new addition, saying that India desperately needed a left-hander at the top of the order. Yashasvi Jaiswal averages 80 in first-class cricket and has hit 9 centuries in 15 matches. The Indian team management has been wanting someone who can provide that left-handed option in the team, especially in the top 4. And with Jaiswal, they know they have the right man at the top. Whether he will come good, I think we're all praying and hoping that happens. But yes, he is the right man for the job. Rohit also added that Shubman Gill will bat at number 3 because he wants to bat at number 3. And he's spoken to coach Rahul Dravid about it, that he's played all his cricket at 3 and 4 and can do better at 3 than opening the innings. Shubman Gill has played 16 test matches. He scored 921 runs at an average of 32.89 with 200s and 450s. Jamie, this is, I like the fact that he went to Rahul Dravid and said, you know what, I want to bat at number 3, 4. I mean, kids these days, right? You just go, you walk up to the coach and you say, bhai, mujhe number 3 ya 4 pe batting karao. But having said that, I think this is the best place for him. You see him blossoming here because, you know, his career so far, test career, hasn't really got going like the way, he started performing in white ball cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope it's exactly as it was described. I hope that's how it panned out. Because look, Shubman Gill, if you look at this 11, or in fact, you look at this squad that the selectors have sent to the West Indies, if there's one player you can look at and say, you know, this guy is going to play minimum 12 years if he stays fit and injury-free, it is Shubman Gill, right? So from that aspect, whatever he wants, wherever he wants to bat, just let the boy do it. I have no doubt that he's a future leader. So again, I'm kind of disappointed. Again, something I've discussed along with Chetan and you on other shows as well. A little bit disappointed that Shubman Gill was not officially given that leadership role or that vice captaincy tag. Because like I said, he's one for the long haul. He's got a solid head. Just coming back to his test career not being where many of us would have wanted to see be. He's had a few problems with the incoming ball, both overseas and at home. I remember England had a bowler, Ollie Stone, 2001. He really troubled Shubman Gill, both in England and in Chennai as well. But there's no doubting that he's here for the long haul. And again, something that I've said, and I know Chetan also has the same views. His future is in the middle order whenever Virat Kohli chooses to retire. We all know he's not going to be asked to go. We know he's not going to be dropped, despite, as Chetan and I keep discussing, that average that hovers around 28, 29 for the last 4 years. You need Shubman Gill batting at a place where he's going to be batting the longest. Yeah. Massive void to fill with Pujara not around. Is Shubman Gill the answer? I don't know. But definitely when you have a Jaiswal who's an opener by profession and perhaps not the best suited to number 3 as compared to Gill, who, I should remind our viewers, began in the middle order. Tomorrow, if Gill says, boss, mujhe 5 pe khila do, because he is your future captain and the future good 12 years in the bank.
Okay. The other thing being, that I'd spoken to Chetan about this yesterday, about Yashasvi Jaiswal debuting, Jamie, and the moment and the significance of that moment for this young man. All of 21, we've seen what he's gone through. I think it's been well documented. There are videos of him talking about the hardships that he's gone through. But on a day like this, when he knows he'll be debuting, I wonder at what time was he told that, he is going to be debuting in this test match. And just the journey itself, Chetan, it makes for a blockbuster movie. I mean, it can't get better than this. And what could be better than him to score 100 on his debut? I mean, that would be perfect, right? I mean, that's what dreams are made of.
Oh, I'm sure he's already living a dream journey already. I mean, he's had a fantastic IPL. He's had just the numbers were on the screen right now. The average of 80 in first-class cricket. And, obviously he'll be opening with his captain and Mumbai partner, Rohit Sharma. So already a dream spell for him. A lot of people have said that, he should be playing white ball cricket and this and that. Probably nobody expected that his test debut would come before an ODI debut or a T20I debut. So stuff of dreams, absolutely. And I think from what I understand, he was told last week because the Indian team had a practice game, intra-team practice game, where he actually opened the innings with Rohit Sharma. So from what I understand, he was already told last week that you will be playing the first test and prepare yourself. You will be opening the innings. And I think, especially in the build up to the first test, he had already been confirmed that you would be opening the innings, or he would be opening the innings, rather. So, yeah, the confirmation came a fair bit earlier, and he's been mentally preparing himself to open the innings in Dominica. But I would like to add, I think we should stop seeing him as somebody who's made that fabulous journey coming from a life of hardships and everything. That's been well documented. Yes, that's brilliant. Like I said yesterday, it's the Indian cricket dream. And he's going to make it big, just like Shubman Gill. I hope he becomes an all-format batsman for the next 12 years, as Jamie put it. But I think now we should start seeing him as somebody who's blossomed into a very, very fine batsman, somebody who has so much potential that he could become an all-format batsman. Let's leave that first part of the story aside, and I think we should just look at the present and the future, because it's going to be amazing.
Okay, about Shubman Gill as well, Jamie, the difference in his style of batting to Cheteshwar Pujara, I asked this question yesterday as well. Is that the way forward now? An aggressive number 3, an aggressive number 4 is just how cricket will be played now, and Shubman Gill fits that role wonderfully?
Interesting, because look, I know these are times of baseball and 4.5 per over, and there are many players even before baseball. I remember Michael Slater in the '94 Ashes. He slapped the first ball of the Ashes through the covers for 4. People said, "What the hell is this guy doing?" So there have been players who come and force the pace, but I still believe, Meha, at least 2 of your top 6 have to be able to change gears. And this is not to say that India don't have players. While Shubman Gill may be the flavor of the year in white ball cricket, and he has got one good 100, he's still, the numbers your team put up on the screen a few minutes ago, they show that an average of 32, whatever it is, 32.89, there you go. It's not good enough for someone with so much expectation. Now, just because Cheteshwar Pujara stepped into the boots of Rahul Dravid, who also had the same kind of role, you look at about 18, 19 years in a row almost, India's number 3 were very traditional test batsmen. I still feel they need someone because the number 3 traditionally has called for that. If Shubman Gill scores a lot of runs and big hundreds while batting his natural way, I won't say aggressive, but the more positive, flashier way, hats off to him if he does it. But if his template starts to fail, I hope he has some part of him can fall back on the kind of batting that Cheteshwar Pujara. I want to add, not the kind of Pujara who got bogged down too often, but the kind of Pujara who was happy getting off the mark in 35 balls, but then as I say, wo janda guard ke batting karna for the next day and a half. You still need that kind of cricket. I think baseball does show that when it doesn't work, you see, they have enough batsmen, England, in their top 7 who can play Test cricket the way it's been played for hundreds of years. It's just about flicking that switch. So whether it's Gill for this series, whether it's someone else 6 months from now in South Africa, or someone else when England come calling for 5 fascinating Test matches early 2024, whoever bats at 3 has to be able to play naturally. But if it's 12 for 2, bat the way that Cheteshwar Pujara and Rahul Dravid did for many years.
Okay, let's talk about the veterans, the seniors in this side. Virat Kohli, all eyes will be on him as well, Chetan. He's averaging 31 from 23 matches in the last 3 years. You spoke about, the problem with consistency. Just 1 century in the last 3 years. What do you think he must be thinking? And I wonder how he's approaching this series.
But knowing him, I think the last month or so, we spoke about the month of rest. I think he would have been very happy with that month of rest, spending time with his friends, with his family. He's a great family man, as we all know him to be. So he would have been grateful for that particular period of rest, because that would have meant that, he's not going to take any more breaks for the remainder of the year. With the Asia Cup coming, the ODIs in West Indies, normally he would not play, all formats against the West Indies. But this time around, he has to. Probably not the T20s, but definitely he'll be playing the ODIs, then the Asia Cup. So there's basically no time for a mental break or a physical break before the World Cup. This is where the run-in for the World Cup begins. So definitely he would have been very happy with that break, and probably would have helped him recharge his batteries, assess what he's been doing. In white ball cricket, he's been in tremendous form over the last year or so.
Yeah.
Red ball cricket, I felt that he was batting well in Ahmedabad or even throughout the Australia series. He was getting starts. But obviously, the conditions in England were very, very different. The kind of bowling attack they had was suitable for those conditions. And yes, that was a bit of a poor shot that he played, especially in the second innings. So, he's Virat Kohli. We're supposed to judge him so minutely, and he's used to that.
Yeah.
But in a conversation I had privately with Jamie, we expressed our doubts whether he can get to 10,000 runs in Test cricket. And you have next series in South Africa, then England are coming home. We don't know what kind of pitches will be prepared in that series. So this is the series where he actually needs to score runs if he really wants to get back to that pedestal. Recently, somebody said he's not even part of the top 4 anymore. So these are big statements. These are big concerns regarding his Test batting. Never mind that 100 in Ahmedabad. There is a huge concern about his Test batting at the moment. And now we have a chief of selector who's looking forward to bringing in the transition. Another failed series, that would be a big, big talking point for Virat Kohli in Test.
Yeah, which is the same with Rohit Sharma, Jamie. I mean, you were talking about Virat Kohli, but Rohit Sharma is in the same boat and with captaincy as well. How long do you see him playing Test cricket? And also, do you feel that uncertainty around his future? Because T20s, it seems like the selectors have moved on, right? From Virat Kohli as well as Rohit Sharma. Is it just till the World Cup? Is that what they're all waiting for? How does he do in the World Cup as a captain, as a batter, and then they will decide his future in Test cricket as well as in ODIs?
If you allow me, just before I come to the Rohit Sharma issue, what Chetan was just talking about the comment that someone made recently, that Virat Kohli is not in the top 4. He's currently ranked 14 in Test cricket. Okay, now that's problematic. If you fall into 14, how could you possibly still be around in discussions of being in the top 4, right? But the bigger picture, I'm just looking at the rankings. Rishabh Pant is India's only batsman in the top 10. He sits at 10 and surely he'll fall. But if someone who's not played Test cricket for 6 odd months now is your top ranked batsman, that just shows the problem. And it's something we've all discussed. Yes, in private, also on some shows. India's Test team is borderline broken. And the same 5, I was very surprised that the same 5 which failed to do the job in the 2021 WTC final was persisted with for this WTC final a few weeks ago, So there's so many issues around the batting, and it just goes back to why I feel that if Gabriel, Holder, Roach, and Azari Joseph can get it together for a good session or two, India's batting could just come apart. Now coming back to Rohit Sharma, again, something I'm not saying for the first time, irrespective of whether November 19th that night or November 20th, Rohit Sharma is holding the World Cup or not, the team needs to put that proverbial shawl around his shoulders and say thank you for everything. Because given the doubts over the one-day game, the doubts over so many people, Rohit Sharma himself, right? Rohit Sharma is not going to be around 4 years from now at the World Cup. Virat Kohli will not be around. This reset button, we in India are so averse or so scared to press reset. Forget high or low, right? We hope that India, and I still feel I'm one of the few people who feel that this Indian team can indeed lift the World Cup in 3 months' time. If they do, the team has to start. The very next ODI series, and I couldn't for the life of me, Meha and Chetan, tell you what it is after the World Cup, but it should not have Rohit Sharma in it, irrespective of how he fares, whether he scores 500s in the World Cup, whether he scores 5 runs. Because that reset, Indian cricket all too often does not look forward into the future. The T20, I'm shocked that India are ranked number 1 in T20Is. It's a joke, The T20 team is also in dire need of a reset. So let's just hope that on that team, the plans have started for the next year's T20 World Cup in the West Indies.
I think it's the rankings that are a joke now, right? Because you've been saying if Rishabh Pant hasn't been playing and he's the rankings, I think they need to also be taken with a bit of salt.
Pakistan is the number 2 ranked one-day team, Meha. It's a joke, So India are the number 1 ranked. And again, so I'm just saying, but there are far bigger problems whether Virat Kohli doesn't score runs or Rohit Sharma doesn't score runs. Too many non-performers still getting a long run. That, to my mind, like it or not, is the problem.
Okay, we're asking you the question as well. If you're watching us, what should India do today? If they win the toss, should they bat first? Should they bowl first? Do let us know. Also, there is some rain predicted over the next 4 to 5 days. So, accordingly, India will take a decision on that. But in case you're just joining us now, Rohit Sharma on the eve of the first test match that'll start now from a short while from now, he has said that Yashasvi Jaiswal will be opening the innings with him, and Shubman Gill will come one down. In fact, Shubman Gill wanted to play at number 3 because he told Rahul Dravid that he's played all of his cricket at number 3 and number 4 and that he can do better for the team at number 3. He says it helps us too as it creates a left-right opening combination. This is what we're trying, and hopefully this becomes a long-term thing as we've been desperate for a left-hander. We've got that left-hander in Yashasvi Jaiswal, and let's hope that he performs well for the team and he can really make that spot his own. And this is where the part that stands out for me, Chetan, is when he's saying we're looking at this as a long-term solution. And that's why I feel that this probably is a step in that direction of maybe putting Shubman Gill at number 4 as and when Virat Kohli retires. Because, I mean, if Yashasvi, it almost seems like pieces are all falling in place. I'm not saying when he does, is when I'm saying that it seems like that's when, they're prepping him up for it.
The funny thing about Rohit Sharma's comment to me is that Shubman Gill said that he wants to bat at 3 or 4. I wonder how that conversation would have gone with Rahul Dravid if he had mentioned that I want
4 as well.
Yeah, so saying I want to bat at 3 is all fine because that number 3 spot is vacant, but you can't really say I want to bat at number 3. So, but look, yesterday also I said Shubman Gill has played most of his first-class cricket not opening the innings. He was a makeshift opener for India in Test cricket because we did not have any other slots available, and that's happened in the past. Even Virat Kohli, who prefers to bat at number 4 now, he started at number 5 or 6 because there were no slots available when Sachin Tendulkar and VVS Lakshman, etc. were around. He started batting at number 5 and 6. So, look, this is something that happens most of the time. It's up to the batsmen who are given their opportunities to show their pedigree. So far, he's done well as an opener. We know it's very, very tough to open in Test cricket, and he's played against some tough opponents. Let there be no doubt about it. But I mean, there's not much difference batting at number 3 or opening the innings. He could be in at the second ball of the innings, really. So he'll have to mentally prepare himself on many occasions. But the biggest point for me is that this is now a step away from the way India's last 2 number 3 batsmen have batted. Or, in fact, even before Rahul Dravid, we look at somebody like how Sanjay Manjrekar used to bat for a long time up the order. So India has always had a number 3 who's been sedate, who's been defensive, who's believed in his defensive abilities and building the innings from there, basically going to bed at the crease, batting long, batting sessions. We know Shubman Gill can bat long. I mean, he scored double hundreds, he scored big hundreds in ODI, but it's very, very different in Test cricket where you have to bat out sessions. There's hostile bowling. So it's going to be a departure from that we're going to somebody who's a true attacking batsman, a true modern day batsman, a true gift of the T20 era, if we can say so. So this is something that Rohit Sharma said would happen after the WTC final loss. So let's see how it really pans out for Team India. Whether he will go down to number 4 or not once Virat retires, that's again a bit of a hypothetical question. Who will take his spot at number 3? But again, as I mentioned yesterday as well, we don't see anybody in the mold of a Pujara or a Dravid coming up. Maybe Hanuma has not been given that long rope. So this is a complete departure, and that for me is a bigger bigger talking point than even Yashasvi Jaiswal making his debut.
Which is exactly what I've been saying, that now is that the way forward? Is that what India are looking at? That your number 3 is an aggressive batter. Had it been Yashasvi Jaiswal, I would have said the same thing, and with Shubman Gill as well. But now let's also talk about India's bowling and Indian pace attack in West Indies. Have a total of 88 Test wickets between them, out of which Mohammad Siraj has taken 52 of them. So inexperience is a problem, but that's not the only problem. The replacements have neither got express pace nor supreme fitness. So in a country, despite slow wickets, you'll need 3 bowlers. The question is, who will support Mohammad Siraj with the new ball? The choice has to be one between Jaydev Unadkat, Navdeep Saini or Mukesh Kumar. Now, Unadkat provides variety with that left-hand angle that takes the ball across the right-handers. Navdeep Saini has the pace and he's slowly coming back to bowling his best. The third option is Mukesh Kumar. He's been impressive in the domestic circuit. He's a 29-year-old seamer from Bengal, has the ability to swing the ball both ways and could share the new ball with Siraj. Shardul Thakur, of course, I feel like he is going to be there. He provides that all-round seam option, having played a crucial hand in the World Test Championship final at the Oval. He will definitely be there to provide that balance needed in the team. So I think we're sure about Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur. Who is going to be your other seamer, Jamie?
Look, I mean, for me, Ashwin and Jadeja are non-negotiable. The West Indies conditions demand they're both there. Mohammad Siraj, of course, like you said, 52 test wickets, finds himself once again the leader of an Indian team, overseas conditions. Last time was Australia when he made his debut, and what a fantastic series he had then. Then, I mean, look, I know Mukesh Kumar comes with a good domestic record, closing in on 150 first-class wickets. But, I mean, there's someone like Jaydev Unadkat who recently, after over a decade, returned. And just that vault of experience, he's had so many consistent domestic seasons, back-to-back. His state team, Saurashtra, won it. I know he has even less pace than Shardul Thakur, but I think given that Mohammad Shami is not around, they just want that level head who is not the quickest bowler in this squad by a long shot, but he's a left armer, something that India definitely need, given the amount of right-handers in the West Indies lineup. So for me, it's the Pacers are Siraj, Shardul Thakur, because look, he's not had a bad overseas test match. He's definitely one of those horses for courses players in that India get a lot out of him when he plays overseas. Plus he bats. We saw his batting. The picture itself says how good a good batsman he's been. So 2 spinners and then Siraj, Shardul and Jaydev Unadkat in my book.
Okay, what about you, Chetan? Do you agree with Jamie or would you have gone with another seamer?
I'm not sure about Shardul Thakur because can he be your third pacer unless and until they are thinking, depending on the pitch, I haven't seen the pitch, unless they are thinking that Ashwin and Jadeja will be doing the bulk of the bowling, then you only need 2, Siraj as the lead pacer and then you can divide the other pacer option between Shardul and Unadkat. But if Navdeep Saini is fit, I would have probably gone with him because because this is a chance for him to get some test cricket under his belt. Because if Bumrah doesn't come back from injury into test cricket, and Mohammad Shami is probably starting to knock on the doors of exit from all formats, you need bowlers. Who are the bowlers that are going to replace them? Siraj is one, but do we have a second bowler? We don't have a second bowler. And I think Rohit Sharma also underlined that bit as well. Suddenly, India's pace bowling is looking bare once again. So I think this was an opportunity, or this is an opportunity to give some to Navdeep Saini. And I, for one, would want to play him in both the tests on this tour.
Which is my other thing, Jamie. I mean, you're talking about transition. Why aren't you giving this opportunity to Mukesh Kumar? He's done the, hard work in domestic cricket. He's got the results. He's a good bowler. Give him an opportunity.
He might play. We'll know in 33 minutes time. He might play, but if not the first test, he might slot into the second match, because we've talked about this lack of options. And I think all of us have also discussed how it's very, very tough to decide, is India's batting the weaker point in these 2 test matches or the bowling, right? And it actually is a 50-50 call. Mohammad Siraj can be expected to do well. I think Shardul Thakur can be expected to do well. So can Jaydev Unadkat. Navdeep Saini, unfortunately, he's just so brittle that he keeps breaking down, that I personally have not seen enough of him with a red ball to say that he's going to be able to do anything. He's also, I think he's 30, 31 maybe, I'm not sure, but he's definitely in that 30 category. So look, this is open season, this is open game. All 5 of these fast bowlers could play, could fit into India's 11 in these 2 test matches because of all the reasons we've discussed, reset and transition and options. Just to bring up what Chetan just said, Jasprit Bumrah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of impossibility that we never see him play a test match again, right? Let's hope he comes back. But he's at that stage, like we discussed yesterday evening as well. where he might have to give up one format. So keeping all this in mind, it's very possible that Mukesh Kumar does play the second test match, that they rotated. It's two test matches, right? Two test matches on the road to a very, very, very difficult 2 years of test cricket for this Indian team.
Okay, now talking about the pitch, it seems to be one of the slower pitches. Historically, the venue has favored spin bowling, 87 wickets, more than pace, which is 80 wickets, 87 at an average of 23.35, strike rate of 48, pace 80 wickets at a average of 48 and a strike rate of 68. So clearly, it favors spin bowling. Win the toss, bat first, gentlemen?
Definitely for me, I think with the kind of bowling attack that I'm going in with, or Team India is going in with, I would want to bat first. There's no reason you would want to bat last in Test cricket. There shouldn't be any reason you should want to bat last in Test cricket. We've already seen the experiment in the WTC final where they tried to bowl first and then conceded almost 400 runs to Australia in the first innings. So I think India would want to make use whatever there is. Again, obviously, if you're playing three paces, then there is always the question that you would want to bowl first. But given the doubts, given the confidence that perhaps somebody like a Yashasvi or Shubman Gill would want to bring to the side, I would like India to win toss and bat first.
Jamie, you agree?
100%. You don't really get green tops in the West Indies. And I know you mentioned rain, but unless there's a tropical storm heading Rousseau's way, just bat. I mean, Chetan gave the example already. It was just three and a half weeks ago that India made the wrong decision. Not the first time that we've seen Indian captains across formats, even in the IPL, take the wrong decision in must-win games. Bat on regardless in the West Indies.
Okay, the pitch that I'm seeing now on social media is a dry pitch without any grass covering on it. It's a completely dry pitch. It's one of those pitches you'd see in India. I don't know if I can even turn it around and show it to our. Can you see it?
Yeah, so that's a typical West Indies pitch that you get nowadays. So and which also explains why Ashwin is in the playing 11. I mean, I don't think they like him very much or they want to play him.
Are you saying he's not going to be in the playing 11?
I don't know. I mean, he should be. He should.
Okay. Let me clarify. Rohit Sharma. Let me clarify. Rohit Sharma has already said that he's going to be in the playing 11. He said that we'll go in with 2 spinners and 3 seamers yesterday. So that was the other point that Rohit made. He said that we'll go in with 2 spinners and 3 seamers because the last match that was played here, spinners got a lot of help. So that is, I think, decided. But yes, go ahead, Chetan.
Look, I've said this before on other platforms as well. I don't think Indian cricket has a proper understanding of what Ravindra Jadeja brings to the table. When you're playing overseas test cricket, Ravindra Jadeja is not classified as a spinner. You have to classify him as a spin bowling all-rounder. He's a better batsman than a spin bowler in overseas conditions, in my opinion. And I think Indian cricket needs to accept that. I don't think it's anywhere close to accepting that. So when you say that you're playing 2 spinners, you're actually playing 1 spinner and you're playing a spin bowling all-rounder. Yes, Ashwin is also a spin bowling all-rounder, but he's a far better spinner than Jadeja. And it's not just about, statistics. It's also about how you hold up one end. It's also about how you outthink the batsman and how you can use different conditions, different variations. And that is where Ashwin excels more than Jadeja as a spinner. So for me, whatever his batting, attributes for Ashwin, he will always be he should be your first choice spinner. And I've said this before as well on other platforms and expressed myself on Twitter as well. If Virat Kohli is your first name on the test sheet, Ashwin has to be your second name. Irrespective of conditions, irrespective of opposition. Not playing him in the World Test Championship final cost us really, really badly. And the thing is, I don't see them, rectifying that mistake. And they could probably go to South Africa this year, and if they see a green top in Johannesburg, they'll again not play Ashwin. So
but I also feel like this has got a lot to do with not having all-rounders in your top 5, and your top 4, top 5, right? Which India had earlier, Jamie. which is the other thing. They have no choice but to play a Ravindra Jadeja or a Ravichandran Ashwin there. You've got to have one of those all-rounders to strengthen your batting and somebody who's going to bowl as well. And that's why you have, like, in this squad, who would you play if it wasn't for these two bowlers, and not just for their bowling but more for their batting?
Look, until I hear Rohit Sharma say the words Ravichandran Ashwin is playing, there's nothing to say that he could play Akshar Patel and Jadeja. Anything is possible because of what Chetan was talking about when it comes in regards to Ashwin. But look, jokes aside, he has to play. I get Chetan's point when he says that, but I feel that if Ashwin is the second name, I actually put in my book Ravindra Jadeja either also the second name at the same time or number 3, because I'll tell you why. Yes, his stats overseas are not the best when it comes to bowling, but they're not that dissimilar from Ashwin's. What we've seen is, because of whether you like it or not, what the process is, that's a second debate. The fact that India are so reliant, and here I'm agreeing with Chetan when he says that they probably have not understood what that all-rounder's value is, and he's 34 years old. But because of the dependency, whenever he's not been around through injury, right, the team's balance has been thrown out of whack so badly, Meha, that they've ended up making disastrous calls because of the dependency. So by all means, play Jadeja in every single overseas test match, because his batting he's undroppable as a batsman. He will never be Ashwin's class. He'll always bowl half the overs that Ashwin does, but he's still in my book as viable because you made him that viable in your 11. Pick up any tour, South Africa, England, Australia. When he's missed a match, they made such horrendous calls to replace him that you've ended up, compromising the result of the match.
Chetan, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so when I say that you have to play Ashwin as the number 2 name on your test side, I don't mean that you drop Jadeja. For me, both Ashwin and Jadeja have to play. There's no doubt about it.
I think they're going to listen to you today. I think it's happening. Yes.
The discrepancy is when you just play the one spinner. If you're playing just one spinner, Ashwin has to play.
Yeah.
Not just, you can't say, okay, I'll play a spin bowling all-rounder and then rely on 4 pacers, as we saw. So that is where my issue is with the Indian team management's thinking. That is what we saw in 21 and 22 when they were touring England for 5. It's unbelievable that Ashwin has not played even one of the last 6 tests that India has played in England. It's just unbelievable.
Even Sunny Gavaskar cannot believe it. So you have somebody in who agrees with you. No, all of us do. All of us do, especially after what happened in the World Test Championship final and the way the pitch turned out to be. But Jamie, I think, Ravichandran Ashwin in West Indies also enjoys a record of having scored 2 centuries here. He's batted well, he's bowled well, another reason to put him in. Do you see these two being the biggest game changers in this series, Ravichandran Ashwin and Jadeja?
Sorry, I just got distracted by that jersey. How bad is the new jersey? Anyways, look, Ashwin, his batting, like I said, for whatever reason, it's sort of faded away from the highs of 16 and 19 when he was batting very, very different. But because we all know how weak or the cracks that exist in India's batting order, bolstering the lower order with men like him, with men like Jadeja, with men like Akshar at home. Akshar was arguably India's best batsman in the BGT recently, coming in at number 8 and scoring 80s and 90s. So it's just whatever player you have, if the guy has a decent first-class record, you need him in that team because for reasons we've all spoken about many, many times, you need people like him playing. So I don't expect him to come and bat the way he did in his past 2 tours here when he got hundreds. He's also got hundreds at home against West Indies. It's definitely stats-wise
overall against
West Indies. It's his favorite team.
Yeah.
It's his favorite team to bat against. Can he do it now? Unlikely. But if he can get even 40, 50, we all know how valuable that's going to be in this series.
Let's also talk about West Indies before I move on to the other big talking point of the day quickly. The bowling. They'll be hugely dependent on their bowling, Chetan. And, the batting, of course, they'll be Craig Brathwaite and Tejnarayan Chanderpaul they'll be dependent on. But this is a team that can cause an upset. If their bowlers, if they get the conditions that they like, that they want, Indian batters could be in trouble?
I think that's the only matchup that I'm actually worried about. I don't think their batting has the strength to overcome the Indian bowling. Yes, the Indian bowling is a bit lightweight on pace attack, but given the experience of Ashwin and Jadeja and the kind of pitches that they are rolling out, I mean, they need proper green top wickets to really, take that equation out, take that spin equation out, as you have so rightly said, that, the statistics themselves spell out that the spinners are dominating, and Ashwin has a fantastic record in the West Indies. But yeah, again, my big concern is the Indian batting against the West Indies bowling. Obviously, the pitch is looking very, very different, but it's just a matter of 1.5 sessions. If they, the ball starts reversing, or if they win the toss and there's a bit of moisture around, there's a bit of overseas. It's an island. It's a chain of island nations after all. So if there's a bit of humidity is going to be high. So if there's a bit of cloud cover around, the ball is doing a bit. You never know. And I think the Indian batting over the last 2-3 years has shown that it is never far away from a collapse in Test cricket. And that is the big question mark for me. This series come down to how many runs the Indian batsmen score. And they have to score. I mean, if you don't score against West Indies in West Indies at this point, then I think the future is very bleak for Indian Test cricket.
I didn't ask you, Ishan Kishan or Bharat, as Bharat, Jamie?
Look, having seen Ishan Kishan keep wickets in longer duration, including domestic cricket, there's no doubt in my mind that KS Bharat is the better option. But we also saw in the BGT, he was nowhere near as good as he was in that session he kept against New Zealand a couple of years ago when Riddhiman Shah had that neck spasm. He was sort of going at the ball with hard hands, and then there's a matter of his batting. So if you want a better batsman, I would play Ishan Kishan. But slow and low West Indies tracks, we saw the pitch, Ashwin, Jadeja bowling a lot of overs. You just want the safer keeper, and in my book, it's KS Bharat.
Okay, do you agree?
Yeah, I would have liked to see Ishan Kishan bat or play in the WTC final. I think as good as Shikhar Bharat is made out to be with the gloves, he's been a bit average in the WTC final and also in the Ahmedabad test, the two proper pitches that he actually had to keep against. He was fantastic in the first 3 test matches where it was spinning so badly in the first 3 tests against Australia. So, look, I think, India has to consider a long-term vision in terms of replacing Rishabh Pant. We don't know the kind of shape he will come back in because of the kind of his injuries. We don't know if he'll be able to keep wickets, if he will only be, a pure batsman when he comes back, or if he will even play international cricket when he comes back. Here's hoping that he does. But India has to have plans in place. At the moment, it doesn't feel like that they have proper plans in place. If they want a like-for-like replacement for Rishabh Pant, then give Ishan Kishan the chance. It's not like he can't improve his wicket-keeping skills. Rishabh Pant did manage to improve his keeping skills. But, like I said yesterday, I think Shikhar Bharat will be given the chance in this particular series to improve his batting a bit. If he can't score runs in this series, then it just becomes a moot point.
Okay, now, less than 3 months from the start of the 2023 ODI World Cup, the MCC's Cricket Committee has recommended that 4 years from now, after the 2027 World Cup, the number of bilateral men's ODI be significantly reduced. So much so, urged the MCC committee that between tournaments, the format should only be played in the 12 months prior to a World Cup. The MCC Cricket Committee, comprising of former England men's team captains Mike Gatting and Owen Morgan, current English women's team skipper Heather Knight, former cricketer Claire Corner, Sri Lankan icon Kumar Sangakkara, South Africa's most successful captain Graeme Smith, and Ashes winner and retired Australian coach Justin Langer. They have called, in the words of its chairman Gatting, for the global game to be reset, looking at the number of franchise T20 leagues popping up around the globe, and strongly advised the ICC that bilateral ODIs be done away with, other than in the 12 months before a World Cup, to increase the quality and create much needed space in the global cricketing calendar. Thoughts, Jamie?
Look, it's not surprising because of all that we've heard and seen about the health of one-day cricket. I have no doubt in my mind that format needs some kind of a reset, a revamp. We've heard ideas, certain suggestions. I still think it's rather gimmicky. But I just go back to someone like Ben Stokes at 31, having such a massive hand on becoming on England becoming the first time World Cup winners after so many years, saying that, you know what, I don't value the game as much, that I want to come back and defend that trophy in India, and the amount of players, turning their back on international cricket and going and playing T20 leagues. This year itself, we have 3 T20 leagues full of big money starting. 2 have come up. One is about to start this weekend. So it's against that backdrop that I think all these recommendations have been made. I find bilaterals the most boring thing to watch these days. But I've also found them very, very boring since I first started watching. The first World Cup I watched from ball 1 to ball to the end, which was 1996. Literally in 96, at the age of 15, I would walk away from the TV after 15 overs. So the fact that I'm still here and watching one day tells you a bit of how much of a dinosaur I am. But look, I mean, it's just a recommendation. There's nothing to say that these recommendations are going to be implemented, but it's a wake-up call for the ICC if they haven't realized that people like Sangakkara, Owen Morgan, Mike Gatting, Heather Knight, Graham Smith, who've really made names because of their success as one-day players, are saying that, you know what, stop one-days for 3 of the 4 years between World Cups.
No, it makes sense as well because of the cluttered calendar for the players. But Jamie, the fact that you found it boring and you still chose to go for only ODI World Cups, to cover ODI World Cups, I mean, I don't know, doesn't match. But I'm completely out of time. I wish I could put this question to Chetan as well, but maybe another day. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us here on News 9. So it is the first test that we are looking forward to between India and the West Indies. Yes, we've been talking about that transition phase. It is beginning today. And the one big thing that I think we all are looking forward to is how Yashasvi Jaiswal will play in his first test. That's it from us. News 9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest from the world of sports. For now, goodbye.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं क्योंकि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं.
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
होता जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में.
ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है.